Let's talk herd.
And then it was the same with girl. Like I got to be with her for daily, all day, every day for 6 weeks as she was dying her body. Like 6 weeks, what an incredible gift she gave me and gave the world, by leaving those energetic imprints in the I don't know what you call it, in the very air, in the because the energies live, whether we can see them or feel them or not. And my prayer was, let me stay present, let me go, as far as I'm allowed to go with her. And that's exactly what happened. And the weather, it was just this time, it was actually funny thing, it was a year ago today that she began her dying. She stopped eating on October 5th. No, not a year ago, 2020. She stopped eating on October the 5th. And I knew this was the beginning of it. And then she, it was about 6 weeks, and she laid her body down on the anniversary of my dad's passing. Wow. Which when it became November the 1st, I woke up and I thought, oh, she's going to wait till my dad's dying day before, she's that. I just knew it.
That's amazing.
And that's what she did. And the weather had been so beautiful until then. And it was November 12th. My dad died on November 12th, 2013. So that was 11, 12, 13,
That's
and
amazing.
that day, it was torrential rain the entire day, and she was laying in it. And the human self wanted to go get the gun and shoot her, and I didn't, and I stood with her for about 14 hours that day. From when I went out, it's 7:30 in the morning. She had gone down, and I knew that was it. And all I could do really for myself was encourage myself and her to have this experience, because this is what the experience was. There was nothing else to do but have the experience of bundling up in every article of clothing I had, and my big winter boots and all of that, and cover her with with rugs and a tarp, and just be present and watch. And it took, I don't know how long it took her, because when I went in after it got dark, she was still her body was still struggling to breathe. But I just said to her, it's just, I'm going in now, and I know what you're going to do, and just, bless your experience, bless your transition. And then the next day it was beautiful sunshine again. So that's practicing honoring her sovereignty and her choices gave me the space to say, even this, even this torrential, really cold rain, and to my human perspective sees you struggling to die, and that's your journey, and I'm honoring and blessing that journey with you, knowing that what appears is not necessarily what's really happening, or trusting that, trusting in the divine and the alchemy of a conscious being choosing the deathing experience of disentwining the body from the spirit. And I mean, I can't imagine how complicated that is. It's beyond my imagination to even imagine what complex alchemy that is, to disentangle, to disentwine, to disentwine the spirit and the physical body.
Yeah. It's kind of fitting for me that it was raining, like, because there's something about that rain that horses really love, and it's flowing. It's the water element. It's like letting go, and yeah, it just feels perfect. And it's almost like the final frontier, the final resistance that you can let go of when you see it in a different way. And, it's not how we would think of rain, but it's so cleansing.
Yeah.
It seems, and purifying. Yeah, I felt that when my little dog, Epona, was dying. She went through a really beautiful process like that. And every day there was a new part of it. And at one,
Was that your little Iggy?
yeah,
The Italian
the little
Greyhound?
black one, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Oh, bless
the
her.
one I remember the most was when she lay down on on this bit where she could be in the bare soil. And it just felt like she went into the soil. I was kind of surprised that she didn't just go then, because it seemed like she'd gone, she'd become the earth energetically, and it just felt so perfect and cleansing. Yeah, I mean, it was and it is so powerful when those portals open. I think because maybe some of the time we tend to sort of think that, like, we have to believe in things that we can't really understand or really experience. And yet at times like that, it's like real. It becomes real, you can really feel the power that's there and the possibilities there.
Yeah. It just dismantles and strips the the notions and the preconceptions and the all of the neuroses around what we are as beings, like, because really there's nothing here. It looks like there's something here, but really there isn't. There's just spaces between quantum particles, or
I feel like I'm really coming into a place where I accept that now. Like, that doesn't feel like a sacrifice, just being able to just 100% give to source and to the creator, and not have to feel individual and like I'm gonna lose something. It feels like
that I think it's strange, or I mean, it's an odd thing that the word lose or loss is used to describe a deathing, or a departing of a being. And it's I don't know what is used in other languages, but I can't make sense of that word, because the being is not lost. I mean, maybe we feel a loss, a physical loss, but it's just become a colloquialism that you lose someone. And so I always ask people, well, where did you lose them?
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's being so enmeshed in the physical, that I think it's just this idea that they're gone, and that it's finished, which is so sad. It's so sad, really, that we create that just because I think because we're scared really to
scared because we've like forgotten or lost the connection with the fact that this is, the beloved animating everything, like,
I did a shamanic ceremony recently. I've got a friend. Oh, she's in California, up a mountain somewhere. I'm so bad at geography. She is she's kind of going deeper and deeper into shamanism, and she used to do craniosacral, and I mean, I suppose she maybe still does, but so anyway, we were doing this ceremony, and it started out as because I've got this Etsy shop now for my photographic artwork with the horses. So we thought we could do a ceremony just to kind of bring it into the scene, because there's so much of that now. There's so many shops and it's hard to kind of get seen. And so, but then it just became that there was layer upon layer to kind of, to this ceremony. And it was really amazing how it all worked out. Like I chose an artwork for each, what do you call it? Each direction, I suppose, like north, south, west, and east. But I didn't realize, she just said choose 4 of your ones that you want to represent the show. And I didn't even know that it was to represent those 4, the 4 elements and the 4 directions. And I didn't realize that at the time. So I just chose them purely intuitively. And it turned out that they were perfect, the ones I chose. It was really couldn't have chosen them more. They couldn't have been more apt for what they were supposed to be. The fire and the water and the air. Anyway, so we were doing this rattling. We started with the rattling after we'd made the circle and everything, and she was rattling. And I have this rattle. I don't even know where I've got it from. And so I said I can rattle too, because I've got one too. So we were rattling. And then she started singing. And then at a certain point, she said to me, "Now you sing." And so I started singing. And then it was just really, really quick what happened. I was doing this and I suddenly just felt Gracie, the dog that she left recently. Quite suddenly, she was relatively young, and it was quite a shock because she was so deeply part of our lives and such a kind of character. And so it was, but she suddenly was just there. It was almost like what you were saying about Girl. It was more than her personality. It was like, it was like her kind of wholeness. But it was so sudden that she appeared that I just got this huge grief, response, all the grief. And it felt like it was the grief of everything, everything that's happened over the last, with my sister's accident and losing Licia, and then losing Wilma, my other Italian greyhound, and Epona, and now Gracie. And so it was like a whole series of things like that. And it was just really powerful, and it all just kind of came out. And that was kind of it then. That was it for the ceremony. That felt really cleansing. And then I can't remember if I don't think I've talked about this in a podcast. Don't want to be repeating things, but so then a funny thing happened that night, the night after the ceremony, I had all of these really disturbing dreams, really horrible feelings that I'd totally forgotten from my childhood. And just so familiar and so horrible. And I was like, oh my God. But there was a part of me in the dream that knew that I had to understand what the feeling was and where it came from. It was like really lucid. It was like, you must understand this while it's happening, while you keep going through all these different scenes. And I was figuring it out and trying to understand it and trying to understand it. And eventually I realized that what was happening was that I wasn't being seen for who I was. Like principally by my parents. I'm not sure if it was like all the adults, in my life, but it was principally them. And I just felt like it was like their projection, and I could feel they could only see me through their projection of like who they saw, like their own, like whatever fears and conditionings and everything. And it had created this kind of lens, like a lens of plastic over the top of me. And it was just horrible, horrible feeling. But there was no judgment of them or absolutely no negative emotion towards them, because I could feel how it came from their parents and it was a generational thing and it went on and on. But just the witnessing of that, like just realizing, because in the morning it was just gone. Like I couldn't even recall the feeling at all. And it was like there was a sort of don't even try because it's gone. It's gone. Like you understood what it was. And now that whatever that plastic layer was is gone. And I felt really lost. Like I didn't feel that good. I didn't feel really wow. It was just like so powerful. It was such a powerful, like,
Wow.
yeah, all of those events. And yes, I don't really know why I brought that up, but it just seems to be kind of relevant to our discussion.
The
Yeah.
emptying.
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
like,
Of all that is not love.
exactly. Yeah.
And and all of this stuff that uh, our humanness carries around because it's been imprinted or injected into the unconscious.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it was so strange that the whole thing about having forgotten the feeling and yet it was still there as some kind of energy that was obviously influencing how things are now.
Mm.
And just the way
Wow.
that Gracie was it's almost like her way that she was in life when she would just take, she just kind of had this way of influencing every situation just with this wonderful like presence and just but so quite, I mean, you could call it also quite bossy sometimes because she was very, but not in a, just because she was so her, so kind of strongly her,
So
concentrated.
completely sovereign,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so when she arrived at the ceremony, it was like, it was almost like such a shock that it was able to just blow apart that whole, just
Mm.
release everything. It was like she punched a hole in the, in the,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it's so amazing, really, how these things happen. Yeah. So do you feel that you still um, connect with girl now, or is it more of a sort of permanent connection that's just always, it's not like she's giving you messages or
Yeah.
something.
It's really, it's definitely not or it doesn't feel that there's a uniqueness, or a describableness about the energy. But just that the merging, yeah, the like the metamorphosis of the energies that comprise this, this body, this soul, that that is expressing via this particular configuration has become amplified, by with whatever girl was, in as a horse in this life, and and
Wow.
whatever she is in the spirit realm is, it's like, defining air. It's just it the body breathes air and breathes out air, and it's a continual alchemical experience of the body, the actual breathing of the body, the absorption of the various components of air by the lungs, by the blood, and then that is alchemically transformed into some other kind of energy that's indescribable.
I love that reminder, because I feel like I get that a lot, that it's about like that, just that we're becoming all the time, but then I suppose we know, in the sense of the rational sense, that we're not becoming, because we're already there, we're already complete. So, but it feels like you're just coming back to your authenticity, and but in a very vibrational sense. And it's like you're kind of, it's almost like as if we started out with everyone being a separate color, and then you get gradually mixed in over your life, and you become more and more part of everything, and less sticking out, sort of.
And it's the gift, really, of taking incarnation, isn't it? It's that it's like a unique flavor, or particular particular blend of colors or sounds, or whatever it happens to be. It's a unique and most amazing experience. I'll never incarnate as this particular formation again. Right? And either will girl, or either will the tree. The next time it'll be another unique expression or combination of energies to express as.
I'm at this kind of threshold of, I don't know if I can call it understanding, because I don't know if we really do, but bringing together this idea that this world is something that we created out of separation, because of a sort of false idea of ourselves, like that we needed to be separate. And yet also that it's created by God, or our creator, as an opportunity to bring us back together. That it just depends on which way you look at it. So I find that my mind always wants to translate everything into the understanding of, which world is that in? you know, and and I think the point really is that
oh, this being human, huh?
yeah, yeah, because it's like on the one hand, if it's all an illusion and it's all you know, nothing really exists because we're sort of in a dream, and then there's this sort of sense of, well, what, you know, why does it matter? But then when I think you can liberate yourself, you know, from things mattering, so they don't really matter, then you become more caring, like you said at the beginning. You become more compassionate. And where I really am at the moment is that I want to, instead of feeling, what can I get out of anything, any moment, it's more like, what can I give in any moment? And that feels like a really powerful transformation. But I think it's like that I'm kind of, that's just my journey of my whole life. It's like, and maybe that's the whole shift of perception as well, you know, maybe that's what it's about.
Mm. Yeah, who knows, right?
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows anything?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think that's the point, isn't it? That you kind of realize that you accept that you don't know and it doesn't matter. You don't have to know. You can't really know. Yeah. Yeah. So do you feel there's anything else that you want to share about Girl or her process? Or
No, I get it's
so hard to put things in words, really.
yeah, like condensing, you know, something into physicality feels like count feels the opposite of what's happening. You know, what's happening is the you know, the experience of the actual lived physical experience of being completely burst into light. And and then, you know, the human kind of compulsion to want to describe things and put it into words and put it in a package, and you know, so that I can touch it, feel it, you know, move it around, share it with somebody, you know, all that kind of stuff. But the um yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. It just doesn't feel necessary, does it, after a
Yeah.
while? But then I think there can be a joy in just celebrating the feelings.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Celebrating. Yeah. Yeah. This land that I'm living on, girl actually lived here with
Oh,
me.
wow.
I think it was about the year, might have been about the year 2000.
Oh, that's
So
beautiful.
it's, you know, I get to kind of, you know,
Yeah.
revisit that energy. Yeah.
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 That's wonderful.
As well. Yeah.
I just brought the only, it's that she's the only horse that I ever bred, or was, don't even really like to say that because it sounds ridiculous, but she was the only horse who was born, you know, who belonged to me with us. And in Scotland, and she stayed with my sister. When I left with my herd, she didn't want to come. She made it very clear that she didn't want to come. So
Mm.
so she stayed because she's such a character. Such an
So she's
amazing.
still living with Gabby's herd?
Well, she was.
Or oh, okay.
So because she's had a whole long history. She was born with neonatal maladjustment syndrome, and she was in a
Mm.
coma, and she survived survived that, and she's just an amazing being. And then she almost died much later on in her life. And it was a learning experience so that I would stop thinking of her as handicapped and just let her go. Let her go emotionally, not feel like I had to it's the responsibility thing again we were talking about.
Yeah.
And she said she was going to be the top of the herd, and that I just had to let her be the shining light that she is. And she did exactly that. So recently she's getting older now, and she's in her mid 20s now, and she's been losing weight, and she got quite frail at one point. So I kind of thought, well, I'd really love her to come home again, back to, so that I can really care for her. And so I asked her like, well, first of all, I did a kind of ceremony with my herd, and we just invited her in, and she came in as an angel. And it was such a beautiful, I can't remember the details of it. I recorded it. She was an angel when she came into the herd. And that was I looked back, and that was in December. But then when I went to see her physically, she said she didn't want to come. She wanted to stay. She seemed physically too frail to make the journey. And she just was like, she was helping Gabby, and she was an anchor for the healing and the situation. So I accepted that. And then the last time I went back, things had shifted, and it was almost like the sovereignty of the place was able to return. And she just suddenly was ready to come home. She said, like, yesterday's not soon enough, partly because we've got a lot of grass here. And she wanted grass, and she wanted, that she just wanted to come back. And it was amazing. So I hired this little van, and she's so sort of certain. Like Tristan said to me, what if we're just going to hire this van and she's not going to go in? And she just walked, literally didn't even hesitate, didn't even look.
Wow,
she just walked in, straight in. It was I wouldn't have really believed it if I hadn't seen it. And she traveled really well, and that was only a couple of days ago. So she's not yet with the others, because they're quite, how they do, they've kind of split up into some that are loving her, and some are kind of being quite aggressive, at the fence. And she's older, so I just want to wait until the charge is kind of left a little bit. But I'm really looking forward to being able to go through the process with her, and it's such a gift.
Can you speak her name again?
She's called Zaz. Zaz. It's Xas. I called her after a book I read once about an angel. It was a fallen angel who came and used to drink wine with this man at the vineyard every year. It's a really funny book, but I love the name. And she just is an angel. And she's but she's been so alive and alert, and she's exploring everywhere, and really like full of character, and she's just amazing. So I feel like she's our next teacher as a herd. Like, we're really going to learn with her. But it's just amazing. You have to be really present and just accept things in each moment, because I just completely let go of the idea that she would be here, and that,
Yeah.
And then it just all changed, completely. And she was ready. And something really beautiful as well. Gabby said that the day before we came to take her, she'd come and stood with Gabby, because she goes down there, in the afternoon and meditates and things. And Sass was being like, my mum was letting her go out and graze as much as possible in the kind of bits around the yard and things. And so she went and stood, and she had never done this before. She went and stood right with Gabby.
Wow.
And Gabby told her all about what was going to happen and what it was going to be like. And it was just so beautiful. So she was completely ready. And yeah, just an amazing situation. So yes, we'll see how that goes. But I was there when she was born. So it'll be really beautiful to, been with her whole life.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this has been really wonderful.
Oh.